Right now, on the streets off West Indian Trail Road in northwest Spokane, there are blocks where the only thing standing is chimneys, rows of them. The Spokane Complex fire is between 97 and 98% contained. Every evacuation order in Spokane County has been lifted. The California incident team that ran this fire handed command back to Washington DNR and went home. Today is Tuesday, August 18th, 2026, and by every number that gets put on a screen, this fire is over. It is not over. And the reason it is not over is the reason I am talking to you today. I am Walter. This channel takes no sponsors, no brand deals, and no gear money, because the day I owe somebody a favor is the day you cannot trust a word I tell you. Here is what I want to do in the next few minutes. I want to answer the question everybody in Spokane is asking, which is how one ignition on a Saturday afternoon took more than 800 structures. Then I want to tell you the part almost nobody is covering, which is why the homes that survived are not necessarily safe to live in. And then I want to show you why the exact same setup that produced this is still sitting there, loaded, about 140 miles west of Spokane. Start with the ignition. On August 1st, just before noon, a fire started near North Old Trails Road and West Euclid Road, north of Airway Heights. Spokane County detectives and Washington DNR fire investigators later arrested a 37-year-old man on a charge of first-degree arson connected to that ignition. He has been charged, not convicted, and that case is working its way through the courts. The causes of the Autumn Lane and Fairview fires have still not been determined. Now, I understand why the arson charge became the whole story, but I want to be straight with you because this is the part that actually protects your house. The ignition is the least important variable in what happened to Spokane. Here is what I mean. Fire behavior people track something called the energy release component. Strip out the jargon, and it is a measure of how much heat a given landscape can put out once something gets it going. It folds in how dry the grass is, how dry the brush is, how dry the dead wood on the forest floor is, and how long it has been since any of it saw meaningful rain. When that value is low, an ignition is a nuisance. Somebody stomps it out. When that value is running at the 90th to 95th percentile, which is where eastern Washington has been sitting for weeks, that same ignition is a loaded gun with the safety off. On August 1st, Spokane had every other variable stacked against it too. A dry cold front came through with sustained winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour, roughly 32 to 48 kilometers per hour, gusting into the 40s and low 50s. Relative humidity in some spots bottomed out near 11%. The National Weather Service issued the first particularly dangerous situation red flag warning in Washington state history. That designation exists for days when the atmosphere has already decided the outcome and is just waiting on a spark. So the fire ran 3 miles north, crossed the Spokane River, climbed the canyon wall, and got into the Indian Trail and 5 Mile Prairie neighborhoods before anybody could put a line in front of it. The river canyon behaved like a wind tunnel and accelerated it. That is not a failure of firefighting. That is physics. I want you to hold on to that because it is the whole lesson. You cannot control who drops a match. You can control what that match lands in. Defensible space around your house, gutters cleared, nothing stacked against your siding, screened vents. That is the variable you own. Now, the numbers. And I want to show you how they moved because it tells you something about how to read a disaster in progress. In the first week, you heard 640 structures destroyed. Then you heard 700. Then over 900. The current figure from Incident Command is 833, revised downward after crews got into areas they could not safely reach earlier. Acreage did the same thing. Old Trails was reported above 3,600 acres in the first days and now sits at roughly 3,176 acres, about 1,286 hectares. The fire did not shrink. The mapping got better. That is normal and it is honest. And I am telling you because you are going to see two different numbers for this fire depending on where you look, and neither outlet is lying to you. Early figures are estimates made under pressure. Later figures are measurements. When they disagree, trust the later one and trust the agency that owns the incident. Here is the part I really need you to hear, especially if you live up there or you have family who does. The Spokane Regional Health District has been direct about this. Being cleared to return to your neighborhood does not mean your house is clear. Ash from a burned structure is not campfire ash. When a house burns, you are burning wiring, plumbing, insulation, appliances, batteries, solvents, treated lumber, and whatever was in the garage. What is left can carry lead, arsenic, mercury, and asbestos. That material gets into ductwork, carpet, insulation, and soil, and it gets airborne again the second somebody runs a leaf blower or a shop vacuum over it. Environmental engineers who have worked previous burn scars have found that after debris was hauled off and the topsoil was scraped, up to 34% of properties still tested positive for hazardous contamination. Debris removal is not the finish line. It is the halfway point. And there is a wrinkle here that matters for your wallet. Washington's federal emergency declaration was granted in full with one exception, and that exception was debris removal. Separately, EPA and FEMA have said they are not conducting asbestos surveys as part of household hazardous materials work. In Spokane County, if your property was damaged or destroyed, you are required to get an asbestos survey from a certified inspector and file a notice of intent with the Regional Clean Air Agency before the city or county will issue you a building permit. That is a step a lot of people are going to find out about the hard way in September when they think they are ready to rebuild. Governor Ferguson has said he expects to submit a request for a major disaster declaration by mid-September. That is the one that unlocks individual assistance for uninsured losses. It has not been submitted yet, and it is not guaranteed. So that is Spokane. Now look west. The Little Giant Fire in the Okanagan-Wenatchee National Forest between Leavenworth and Lake Chelan was started by lightning on July 15th. As of the August 17th incident update, it stands at 134,635 acres, about 54,500 hectares, at 10% containment, with nearly 2,000 personnel assigned. It has been the top priority fire in the nation. Level 3 evacuation notices have been in place across the Entiat River Valley, the Chihuahua drainage, and stretches of both shores of Lake Chelan. Same state, same fuel dryness, different ignition source entirely, and the outcome looks the same, which is exactly my point. For the days ahead, red flag conditions have been drawn across the lower Columbia Basin of Oregon and Washington, with west winds of 25 to 35 miles per hour, about 40 to 56 kilometers per hour, gusting to 45, and humidity bottoming near 20% with poor overnight recovery. Model guidance keeps temperatures above normal across the interior Northwest past day 5. That is model output, not a forecast, and wind numbers that far out will move. What will not move is the fuel dryness. Nothing in the pattern brings the rain that would change it. So here is what you do with all of this. If you are in a Spokane burn area, do not sift ash without a fitted N95 or P100, gloves, long sleeves, and eye protection. Mist the ash, do not sweep it dry, and keep kids and pets away from it entirely. If your home is standing but smelled like smoke, get the ductwork and the plumbing looked at before you assume it is fine. Get the asbestos survey done now, not the week you want your permit. If you are anywhere in eastern or central Washington, look up your evacuation zone today while nothing is burning. Pack the go bag now. Know 2 ways out of your neighborhood in different directions. And clear the 5 feet closest to your foundation, because on a 95th percentile day, that 5 feet is the difference. Back on Indian Trail, families are walking through the foundations of houses they lived in for 20 years. What took those homes was not one man with a lighter. It was a landscape that had been waiting all summer for any excuse at all. And that landscape is still waiting. This is a developing situation on both fires, and I will keep tracking it and bring you an update the moment the numbers move. If this was useful to you, subscribe and turn on notifications so you actually get it. My thanks to every crew still on those lines, to the incident teams, and to the families in Spokane and Chelan counties working through the hardest month of their lives. Keep your eyes up and your bag packed. I will see you on the next one.